everyone, Olive here, and welcome to my very first book haul on the Bluestocking Bells channel. I am so excited. So let's get started. Book number 1 is Six of Crows, which I recently got for my birthday, which was last week, and this book has become my new obsession. Even though I have not read her first trilogy, I still found it quite easy actually to get into this world and understand the whole world that Leigh Bardugo has created. And I'm absolutely obsessed with it, and even though I've started reading it, I had to include it in this book haul because of how much I love it. Six of Crows chronicles a heist carried out by 6 individuals. 6 of Crows. 6 individuals. And basically they're trying to complete the impossible heist. They all have very different and very difficult backgrounds, and the book talks about how they have gotten to the point in their lives where they are in a position to take part in this heist. The successful completion of this heist would allow all of the 6 individuals to monetarily gain from it. However, it also would allow them to save the world. And who doesn't want that? Book number 2 is called Everything, Everything. I've been seeing this book everywhere on BookTube and heard some fantastic reviews of it. Basically, it is about a girl who is allergic to the world. Now, this book really struck me because I have severe allergies, always have, and probably always will. And you don't often see fiction about people with allergies. I'm really curious to read this book because a lot of people have misconceptions about allergies, which can be really irksome and frustrating. So I'm really interested to see if this book breaks some of those barriers, because the main character has so many allergies that she cannot leave her house and only really talks to her mom and her nurse. Now, the interesting thing about this book for me is that it is a love story, and if you have watched some of my other videos, you know I am not crazy about romance books. However, my curiosity went out on me with this one, and I just really want to read a book about a girl who has allergies. This book also is going to be a major motion picture soon, so I would love to read it before I go see the movie. My third book has already been made into a movie, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. This book chronicles a boy named Jacob who runs off to Wales after a family tragedy, stumbles upon Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and meets the peculiar children who are peculiar for a range of reasons. Now, I know this book came out a while ago. It came out in 2011. However, books with creepy covers do not generally tend to draw me. I'm not a creepy kind of person. Double entendre, take that as you will. When the movie came out, I saw it on a whim, and I never do that. I always need to read the books before I go see the movie. However, I found out from Feather, who has read the book before me, that the movie is nothing like the book. I figure that the movie must have come from something great, so here it is, and I'm sure this will be better than the movie. The next book on my book haul list is Serafin and Claire, and this book caught me, first of all, because it looks very historical fiction-y. I can speak English, I promise. It takes place in 1920s Montreal. I love Montreal and I love the 1920s. It is such an era of social change and female empowerment, which makes me very excited, and that's what this book really seems to be about. So I didn't really know too much about it until I found it waiting for me on a shelf. This book is about 2 young women, one who is a vaudeville dancer, the other who is a photographer who recently immigrated to Canada. Their lives somehow become intertwined, it does not say on the cover, and somehow through this integration of their lives they are able to come up with a plot to boost their fortunes. So what that may be, I have no idea, but I need to read it and find out. Now it's time for nonfiction. The first nonfiction book in my book haul is called Covered in Ink. I have quite a few big tattoos, and so when I saw this, along with a picture of a woman on the cover, it caught my eye because women who are heavily tattooed are not nearly as common as men who are heavily tattooed. And as you can see here, the subtitle here is Tattoos, Women, and the Politics of the Body, which is totally something I'm so interested in. And the fact that this combines 2 of my favorite topics to talk about, gender and tattoos, makes me very, very, very excited to read this book. This book is ethnographic research, and if you're not familiar with that term, it means that the lovely female author that went out and did the research actually went and was a part of the culture to learn more about women who are heavily tattooed, what kinds of tattoos women who are tattooed get, and it also says on the cover here, she talks about how tattoos have become more mainstream, not just culturally, but also specifically for women. It asks a lot of questions that I ask myself, and I cannot wait to read this book. This is also of particular interest to me because tattoos used to be associated with criminality, and now they are not. So many people walking down the street have tattoos, yet we do not run and scream because we think they are murderers or thieves. My next book is The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir. I love, love, love reading feminist literature. This is a classic in the feminist world. I have read parts of this for sure. The whole thing is actually quite a tome, and not only does it have a lot of pages, it has very, very, very small font, so I am pretty intimidated by this book, not only because of the obvious challenge, however also because I know from having read parts of it before that the content is quite in-depth and very thought-provoking and can be quite unsettling. So I'm very excited to read this. In case you are unaware of what this is about, this is analysis of the Western notion of what a woman is. What is a woman's place in culture? It was in fact written 60 years ago, however it is still very, very prominent work in feminist literature, and I'm sure will continue to be. And just to give you a better idea of some of the topics that Simone de Beauvoir covers, the table of contents include childhood, the girl, sexual initiation, the lesbian, the married woman, the mother, social life, prostitutes, maturity to old age, women's situation and character, the narcissist, women in love, the mystic, the independent woman. It goes over a ton of different topics, all pertinent to what women are, who women are, and who women will continue to be. I took an absolutely amazing course in my graduate degree, and I did a whole research paper on solitary confinement. The course we talked about social death. What does it mean for society to be a living, breathing entity? What does that mean to socially experience both death and life in a society? Who experiences it? So many questions to ask. Of course, this book being about solitary confinement, it talks all about prisons and some of the phenomena that occur in prisons. So, of course, racialization, living relationality, dehumanization, confinement, space, not like the galaxy, but space, ideas of space, I just said space a lot, dead time, accountability, responsibility. It definitely looks more in depth about questions that we don't necessarily ask in our society because a lot of the times we just assume that solitary confinement is part of the prison system, it's a necessary evil. However, there, at least in Canada where I live, there's been a lot of talk across the nation about solitary confinement, definitely applicable to our current social time. So here I am, almost done my video, talking about all these big ideas, and I just realized that my feminist killjoy embroidery hoop is sideways. There we go. That looks a little bit smarter. So my second last book of my book haul is Tess of the Durbervilles. I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly. It is by Thomas Hardy. It is a classic. I've always heard the name of this book. Honestly, don't know too much about it, but it was in the bargain bin, sitting all by its lonely self, and so I just had to pick it up. This book was written in the late 1800s, a time that I absolutely love reading about. It was such a time of social change, and big ideas were starting to formulate, and I just love reading about that. And for some reason, I do not mind reading romantic kind of novels if they are set in the late 1800s. I feel that this is because romance at that time was not very mushy-gushy. It is very stark, and you either like the girl and it's a clean sweep, you go get married, or you don't and you have a very dramatic fight about it with very staunch language, and something about that just really appeals to me. I'm just going to read the back so that you and I have a better idea of what this book is actually about. Written in an era of considerable social change, the journey of hardships faced by Tess and her family reflects Hardy's observations of the disparate social classes and the fading aristocracies of 19th century England. Hardy poured all of his profound empathy for both humanity and the rhythms of natural life into the story of Tess's beauty, goodness, and tragic fate. And last but not least, my last book haul book is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, another classic, and actually this is the book that me, Rose, and Feather will be reading for our next book club book. So, very exciting. I have meant to read this book since grade 10. Hasn't happened, I don't know why, but this book really appeals to me because Jane Austen is making fun of the late 1800s and Gothic literature and I just can't wait to read Jane Austen making fun of people because she is fantastic and does this already in some of her other works, but to read this work where she is actually known to make fun of people, I'm sure this will be all the more hilarious to read in Jane Austen's special way. Thank you for watching my very first book haul video. I am so excited to read all these books. Look forward to another video by me next week on Thursday, and look forward to Feather's video on Saturday. She will also be doing a book haul, so stay tuned. Happy reading!